let's share this link out on Twitter. Okay, show this thread, and I'm actually going to add another tweet. We are now live. Okay, tweet was sent. It should show up in my personal here. Let me tweet that out. Retweet. Let everyone know. And we will see who joins us. Okay. I'm gonna check my inbox real quick, refresh. Okay, back to this. Let me pop out the chat. And I'm gonna move this over to here. And I'm just putting all my chat stuff inside of my main screen. Because what you are seeing right now is my top screen and configuration over here. And I've got Discord and the live chat right in front of me. So let me join the voice channel. And here we go. All right. Okay, so I'm working on a scratch sheet right now. All right, we got our first person in. Welcome, welcome. 2 people now. Great. Okay. Let's go ahead and start with some technical analysis on AMC. All right, let me clear all my drawings so that way we can start with a fresh template here. All right. So let's head out to the 30-minute window. So that way you guys can see my process from start to finish, what I'm looking at. So what I've been keeping track of is I know that we've been inside of a bull pennant for the past week or two. So I'm gonna make this array, come up to 7726, add it to the top point right there. And let me get that a bit more exact. Zoom in here. Okay, that's good. And then let me add the bottom point of this bull pennant right here. And low point, that was on the 10th. Zoom in, make sure it's right there. Come on. All right, there we are. Okay. So, yep, looks like we did. It looks like to me we're kind of heading. We are. Let me zoom out to the 1 hour here. So with this bull pennant that is that's converging sometime on July 1st. It looks like that we are, well, with the big drop that we had in the pre-market today, and well, actually, yeah, the pre-market today, I would say there's probably a good chance that we'll probably just keep respecting this bull pennant. We'll probably head down to the bottom side of this over the next couple days, so don't be surprised if that happens. But we did see a really big push right in the last minutes of the trading day. So I would be really happy if we could actually just keep heading here, keep heading up, and possibly break out of this bull pennant. And actually, it kind of looks like we might. That's what we might be doing. Let me add a horizontal line here. So right at the 51.87 level, it looks like that's when we started our big run up on the 14th, and that's where we bounced off of. So we actually just might be trading in this in this area right here. That's what I'm hoping that we'd be looking at now. I would really like it if we actually didn't see ourselves in the 40s again. So what I'm also curious about is seeing how we are respecting our Fibonacci levels. So let me add a retracement, and everything that we've been trading in so far has been entirely within the range of what we traded the entire day on the 3rd. So that is where I'm going to draw my Fibonacci retracement and extensions from. So let's go to the 1 minute. Let me go all the way back to the 3rd. All right, so we have the 3rd. 37.66 is our low point. Draw that up to the high point, which was 68.80. And let me zoom in here, make sure that that is right at that point. And I like to color my retracement levels green to signify like these are levels of support that we would fall back to. And then with Fibonacci extension, a Fibonacci extension gives you an idea of when the price is heading upward, of what levels of resistance that you can expect to run into and get rejected off of. And the way we do that is we do the same thing with retracement. We go from the low point to the high point, and then it didn't like that, and then it back down to the next low point before it bounces back up. So if we adjust this to make it go where it's supposed to be, right there, and then I'm going to make this red to signify levels of resistance that we would be running into, and 45.59, that matches up. Okay, let's zoom back out. So on the 30-minute chart, what's really interesting to see here, let me turn off auto axis, is and if we zoom in here, since these Fibonacci levels were established on the 3rd, you can see that we've actually traded inside of these channels fairly well. Now, what's really interesting about the retracement versus the extension in the scenario that we're in is that a lot of the levels between retracement and extension line up pretty closely with each other. And when that happens, when retracement and extension levels are really close together, you can expect them to act like magnets, where magnets that repel each other, so magnets that have the same polarity, so that anything that's magnetic that goes in between those two magnets that are trying to push each other away, anything magnetic will either bounce right off of it, or it will rip right through it and snap to the other side. We can see a perfect example of that on the 1 minute chart from yesterday. Oh, I need to turn auto back on. So right here we have our polar vortex around the $61 level. And you can see here that we did not stay, that when we did come into this level, we did not stay there for very long. We either stayed below it or we stayed above it. And when we approached it, so if we come here, the first time we approached it, we got a quick bounce off of there. We only stayed there for 2 minutes before we dropped back below it. And then the next time we crossed, we just zipped right through it. within 1 minute before we were up here. And then almost perfectly, within 13 cents, we bounced off this expected level of resistance established by the Fibonacci extension, and then we we came back closer towards this, but acting as a polar vortex, this support pushed it away, and then right here we got stuck inside of it, and for a while it was deciding what to do. It was deciding, like, are we going to go down or are we going to go up? And it eventually decided that it was going to snap down, come through here to this level, to this polar vortex, since we have a range here between extension and retracement that we went into but got rejected out of, or bounced out of, since this would be support. And then we traded in this channel for the rest of the day. So that's a perfect example of what we're looking at there. Jerry, what's up? Okay. And if you guys want to like actually have a conversation with me instead of just me talking, I'm much more entertaining if I'm actually talking with people. I have my Discord. I have the link to my Discord post pinned at the top of the chat, so feel free to join that, and in the voice channel there, and we can talk there, and it'll be much easier for me to communicate with you guys that way. Because sometimes, like, I wish that the YouTube chat would like flash at me or something, letting me know that a new chat was put through. Because my focus is up here. I don't necessarily want to have the chat taking up any real estate on this screen. Or actually, maybe we can, because since we're in after hours, I'm not really caring about the order the order book for level 2. But as soon as I click into here, then that disappears. Maybe that's not a good strategy. Where could I put this? Where, yeah, I'll just keep it down there. I still haven't figured out a good method for how I want to do this, or where I want to keep all my windows. New tweets, spam investor. Bullish. All right. Okay. Let's see. So, what's curious about Webull is if you have a drawing, especially rays, that are drawn on larger intervals. When you go to a smaller interval, they don't always play nice. Like, this is definitely not where it's supposed to be. Where I found fixes that is if I load back some days on the 1 minute and then come back, then the lines are in their right spot. See there, now it's where it's supposed to be. All right, so let's take a look at today. What happened? So what happened today is we had down, back up. This was a bull flag right here. Let me draw that out on the chart. So we had a run up, and then we had our flag in a parallel channel. Kind of interesting. Maybe a really wide bull flag. This is the trajectory that it was following. So there's our flag pull, there's our flag, broke out of it, traded sideways for a bit. Now, what's really interesting is that in the pre-market, they managed to dip us below this Fibonacci vortex right here, and we tried to break through it, but this now acted more as resistance, and so we got quickly shuttled out of there because, once again, think of when extension and retracement are close together, price does not like to stay in this zone. It either wants to be above it or below it. So we tried to break through it. We got pushed below, and oh my gosh, that's 53.23. I want to zoom into this candle. 53.25 within 2 cents bounced off of this level of retracement. That's beautiful. Went through a bull flag. Looks like we had a false breakout through this Fibonacci vortex here. And then looks like some indecision. This is really interesting, but actually no, because yeah, it zips through it, went up above. Bears tried to pull it back down, rejected, went back up, and rejected, went back up before it finally went back down. But all in all, you can see it does not like to stay in here. It likes to either break below or break above it. So yeah, we saw that a couple times here, and we saw a really big run up right here in the last few minutes of trading. So let me get rid of that bull flag example. And let's see. Yeah, we had just higher lows, just a consistent pattern of establishing higher lows, and then we had our rip. This actually does look like a double bottom. If you like, I would say that this 1 minute candle was an anomaly, especially since it yeah, I would say this 1 minute would be an anomaly. Otherwise, this looks pretty close to a double bottom as you can get. Got all the way up here, and now we are trading here. So let's do some mini Fibonacci stuff here and see what we could be looking at. Let's do a retracement to see where our levels of support are here. So we go from the bottom of the run up to the top of the run up, and beautiful. Like this 1 minute candle here bounced right off of that, and we're trading in, and it looks like we're just trading in this. We're consolidating inside of this channel right now. But all in all, the pattern as of late is fairly bullish, so I think we can expect to keep trading somewhere in this zone, within the zone of this run up, until the end of the market today. And actually, since we'll be watching the we'll be keeping an eye on the after hours price action, I'll just leave this up here, and let me make this orange. All right. Okay, as far as where we can go next, Rogue isn't feeling too well. Okay, so as far as where we can go next, let's analyze that. All right, so yeah, in general, we traded inside of this channel, but looks like we're heading back up. Bounce off of this area right here. I think we can expect to see a retest tomorrow of the $61 range, and if we with this descending level of resistance, I think there's a very good chance that, well, it's really a toss-up, because we have a descending level of resistance and a massive bull pennant that's converging with a very strong level of resistance that is also inside of a Fibonacci vortex. So we can either expect to see a bounce off of this, and if we see a bounce off of this, we can expect to see us go down to this level. And if it's a really hard rejection, I think we'll probably be pushed back to where we closed today. Or we could see a really, really nasty rip out of this. And if we break through this convergence here, I wouldn't, and especially considering tomorrow or Friday is also quadruple witching day, I would not be surprised if we saw, if we were testing the all-time high again by Friday. That's if we break above the $61 level there. Because what we want to look, something to take into consideration is the options action. And I built a power sheet that allows us to visualize what's going on with that. And I don't think that options can be traded after an extended hours, so I think we're good to pull in the latest data. So that's what I'm going to do. I want to get options data for AMC, submit. And that's going to update my chart data. Okay, that's perfect. So we have Monday end of day, Tuesday end of day. That should not say Tuesday. That should say Wednesday, because each day should only have... Oh, the reason why is because it is not yet... It's based off of Greenwich Mean Time, my timestamps on these, and usually this sheet will automatically pull in the data at a little bit after midnight in London, and it's not Wednesday in London yet, which is why this also says Tuesday. So for the time being, I'll just change these headers to Wednesday manually. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, now let's fix this chart. Okay, the setup, we need to add Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, so it has all the series that we want now. We just need to fix the way that it looks. So we go to the series. So Monday OI, we do want that as columns. We want that as red columns. Where's my red colors? Should be red, and that should be on the left axis. All my Tuesday end of day OI columns, orange left axis. This should be yellow left axis, and then the cumulative OI, which cumulative is signified by the plus. This should be red since it's Monday. It's Monday's data, and it should be a line, and it should be a dashed line on the right axis. Tuesday should also be a line. It should be orange and dashed on the right axis. And then we have Wednesday's line. This should be yellow. And our yellow data. And that should also be on our right axis, which it is. Great. So now we can, I need to adjust the chart and axis titles. Right vertical axis title, this is cumulative contracts. All right. Okay, and this data is provided by Yahoo Finance. This allows us to track essentially the behavior of options over time. There's something going on with the horizontal or grid lines and ticks, I think. No, it's the series themselves. So I want Monday end of day OI, the fill color, the line color, just want auto. There we go. Now that's more visible now. Okay. So, so yellow is today's options. So if we are looking at we're looking at the anything above 61, we want to see what that looks like for us. So let me expand this so we can really get a good look at it. All right, so above 61, yeah, there's just more, like this is all just okay. So yeah, we're looking from the $61 range to the $73 range where we have these big spikes. Wait, I don't see a yellow column for 73. Are there no is there no open interest for 73 anymore? Let me go to my chart data. 73. Interesting. Okay, that's weird. So let's maybe manually populate this. Wednesday, end of day, open interest at $73 for AMC calls out of the money. So those are puts. This is a call. Okay, and these are the most recent ones. And I want to go to $73. I want to find the open interest. No data. Is that right? Or has it just not been loaded in yet? I think we might get more complete data after market close. So let me go to options and Webull here. And these are all for expiry on this Friday. So these are calls, 145, 73. Okay, so open interest 30,000, so 30117. Let's manually populate that on our chart data. 30117. Okay, let's head back to the dashboard. Okay, there we go. All right, so not much of a change, but with the cumulative open interest from the 61 level, especially if these haven't been hedged for, right when as we approach 60 tomorrow, like either tomorrow or Friday, 60, that might be enough open interest to have us gamma pult hopefully up to 65, which will keep, essentially what we're looking for is to keep getting gamma pulted all the way up to 73. This gamma pult, we might even be able to see $80 by the end of tomorrow or Friday. I would say at that point, this would be like a really long gamma pult, but a true squeeze is if we saw us just completely destroy the options chain and there are so many bets for $145 by the end of this week. That'd be crazy if we were there. That'd be nuts. I would love to see that. But yeah, so that's how I'm using the options visualizer Powersheet to kind of figure out what might happen when we get around to this level. So yeah, if we can, if gamma pulting kicks in, we could see a small gamma squeeze take us all the way up to testing the all-time high, and that would be fantastic if we could get that done by Friday. But so that's what we're looking at for. That's what I'm looking at for tomorrow as far as my predictions. Let's move on to building building Powersheets now. So I'm gonna take a chart here, move it out to the side, so that way we can keep an eye on it. So we're on the 1 minute auto, turn on extended hours, turn off the MA. We just want this to be a really, really clean chart. Let's zoom in. Okay. Let's take a look. So let me refresh Twitter. Let's take a look at the poll to see what we are going to build. Well, that doesn't help. We got an even split among all of it. So we got 4 votes, but only 2 people watching right now. So we'll essentially put up to a vote to you two. So what do you guys want to build with me? Options visualizer, portfolio manager, wealth planner, or budget planner? Let me know in the chat. In the meantime, I actually have another sheet that I've been working on. Keep a close eye on the chat here. So this, well, I guess let me show you why a sheet that I'm working on. So there's this one of the top posts on Superstonk right now is T plus 35 is the one true cycle. TLDR, every spike that is seen can be traced back to T35. He shows 1 minute spikes to back this claim up. Jerry Jones wants to see a portfolio, so we'll do that. I prove a guide, and he provides a guide on how to set up data ourselves. Once we are done with portfolio, I'll be working on this in my spare time, but let's go ahead and build out a portfolio power sheet. All right. Let me shrink this back to what it was. Okay. Close the options visualizer. I'll keep colors open, and let me go into products, and we're going to create a new sheet because we're doing this from scratch. This is going to be really fun. Well, maybe not entirely from scratch. I built a really crude version for myself, like back in February. And so I'm going to be drawing from my experience building that to build a much better version. So let's go to spreadsheets, portfolio manager. I'm going to copy, well, no, come on. There we go. Copy all of that, so that way I don't have to go there. And let the price action. All right, so the purpose of the sheet is going to be to track the value of all investments across different brokers. The features that it's going to include is intra-category weighted distribution. What that is saying is essentially planning to make buys, where this isn't going, this portfolio manager, it's really going to be focused on like long-term investments. So that way you can say like, hey, I have these, I have category X and let's say I have tech stocks I want to invest in. I have like retail stocks I want to invest in, and you can sort stocks into different categories. And then for each category, you can say for like let's say every month you are able to put in $300 to investment. What this sheet will enable us to do is take that $300 and say like, hey, I want to or however much money I'm able to put towards to investing every month, or every whatever arbitrary time period that we decide on. I want like 30% of the money I have available to go towards tech stocks, 40% towards retail, and then like maybe like 10% towards crypto. So we'll be doing weighted distribution of funds there. And then we can also dive in even further, and inside of those categories, say like let's pick tech stocks that like, okay, so out of my tech stocks, I got Apple, Tesla, Microsoft. I want Apple, like out of the chunk of money that the tech stocks get, I want Apple to get like 50% of that money. And then this stock, that percent of that money, and other stocks, this percent of that money. And how I've done that before is just based off of market cap. So that's what intra-category weighted distribution is. And actually, those are Jerry Jones. Sorry, I'm driving now. Cool. I will definitely need something like this. Glad this will help you. It definitely helped me to like really kind of like I was managing, like before I went all into AMC, I was managing a portfolio of like 55 different stocks, and this really helped with being able to just easily distribute my money, so that way I didn't have to think. I didn't have to think about how much money am I going to put into this stock today. I didn't have to think about that because the spreadsheet does the math for you. Yeah, and we'll dive into different stuff. So let me, because we have intra-category weighted distribution, then we have inter-category weighted distribution. So we'll have both of those features. We'll have cash balance tracker between all the different brokers that somebody would have. Category balance tracker. Intercategory, I already had intercategory weighted distribution, so let me delete that. And then eventually we'll build out an integration between this sheet and the wealth planner that if you're familiar with my stuff, you're probably already using a copy of the wealth planner that I have. The wealth management Powersheet is what I've also called it. And so yeah, eventually we'll be able to have those sheets talk to each other, and that's going to be really cool. But that's not something definitely not something we'll be able to get to today, because we got to actually build out the sheet first. So let me rename this sheet as this would be product roadmap. So that's our product roadmap. Let me come back to here. All right, let's get started. So, just thinking logically through, like how you would trade. In order to trade, you need money. You need a cash balance. So first feature I'm actually going to start building is going to be the cash balance tracker. That's what I'm going to start with. Because everything starts with having buying power. So let's create a new sheet. Let's call this sheet cash. Jerry, using the wealth planner, and it has really helped me to develop my investment and exit strategy. I'm really glad to hear that. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Really glad I'm helping people. So, okay, cash. So, different things to consider with cash is we need, I want to make this as scalable as possible. We'll have it, and yeah, we'll have a dashboard too. So let me add another sheet and call it the dashboard. And a good way to start with figuring out what needs to go on the cash table is figuring out what do I want to display in my dashboard. So in my dashboard, I want to just see buying power. I want to see how much buying power I have between like all my different brokers. So in order to calculate buying power, so buying power is equal to cash transferred cash transferred in, and that is subtracted, and cash transferred in, and you subtract cash spent, and that's how you get buying power. So buying power goes in that column. Okay, so cash transferred in, cash spent, buying power. Ooh, the chart is doing something funky right now. It is flat. We got this 1 minute candle that's flashing between $55.18 and $54.80. That is what cent spread is that? I'm curious. And is that real, or is that just Weeble kind of freaking out on us? That's a 35-cent spread. Is that what we're seeing between the bid and the ask? What the? 54.82. It should not be doing that. We got stuff on the ask as low as $54.90. So that's really weird that it's doing this, and it keeps going. Here we go on another candle. Previous minute candle looks like it ended. It looks like it did end at 55.18. So I mean, that's good for us. Because because the previous minute before we were at 54.83, and now we're up almost $half a dollar. But yeah, and it's still flashing in between that wide spread. Wonder what's going on there. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, so cash transferred in. So I'm just thinking about, well, I guess it would be easier if I actually just started with the data. So let's say I transferred in $300, and I also just want to keep track of the broker that's coming from. So let's say a broker's Fidelity, if I can spell right. Fidelity. And I want the date that was transferred in. So let's just pick today, which is 6/16/2021. Broker, transfer, and then we would also want a toggle if it's if it's been settled. If the transfer has been settled. So we want true or false for that. So this would be amount, broker, date, or instead of date, transfer date. Transfer date and settled. And actually, instead of cash, let's call this tab transfers. That's really what it is, because we're also going to use this to track not only money coming in to the portfolio, but money leaving the portfolio to bank accounts as well. That's another thing. So as well as the broker that it went to, we want to track the bank or the financial institution that it came from. I'll just call it bank. Bank, credit union. Bank is the colloquial term, so we'll use that. Bank. Let's just use Chase since they're really popular. Or I'm not sure about popular, but they're definitely big. All right. So the transfer dates we typically see on the very, very left. And then the amount would be the other important information, and whether or not it's been settled is also important information. And then bank and broker is just kind of metadata for that. we are going to format the settled column to a checkbox. So it's very easy to change the value, either true or false. Let's freeze column 1, or sorry, row 1. So that way, no matter how far we scroll, we can always see the column headers. Let's bold the column headers. And get rid of our extra columns, and let's get rid of our extra rows. So that way it stays very, very clean. All right, and let's also add some alternating colors. So we go to Format, Alternating Colors, and then I always like to use my signature colors. So column headers, my black background is always 080808 hex code, hit OK. And then my white color is FD, FD, FD. And then my light gray, or I should say my dark white, is E7, E7, E7. So we will use that. Cool. So that way we don't, that way it looks really nice for us. So just have to highlight the column headers, change the text color to, I like to have the text colors as my main blue. Beautiful. Okay. So let's add a couple more rows of dummy data just so we have some stuff to play with. Make sure that it works properly. Let's add like 4 rows. So we have a total of 5. And let's say, I wish I could just generate a random date, but I can just make these all the same date, no problem. Just want different amounts to play with. 550, why not just punch in random numbers here? All right, and let's do Wells Fargo as another bank, and broker Webull. Let's do that and then do the rest there. All right. Okay. Moving on. Yeah, there's some really weird stuff going on the chart right now. But I guess that can be expected in after hours where the bid-ask spread is a bit wider. Like the GameStop chart just looks really, really funny sometimes. It's literally gapping in the middle of the day. Okay, so we have our transfers in, and so now with our buying power, we'll go back to our dashboard, and our buying power is a formula where we just have the sum of, our transfers B2 through B, and that is our total buying power. And I think if we format the amount here to $1, oh, another thing that I like to be picky about is because dates and currencies are right align on the horizontal, I like to have my column headers do the same as whatever the data it represents is doing. It makes it look a bit nicer. And so we'll do the same thing with buying power here. All right, so buying power, we've got that. So another thing that we need to consider is with buying power, we also need to consider transfers out. And transfers out would essentially be the same thing, except we'll just have some, we would have some negative, the amount would be negative instead of positive. So let's add that to the transfer table. And let me do that. Okay. And let's see. The dashboard is the data that I want to display. Transfers is literally just data. We don't. It's a good practice when building spreadsheets that that each tab does a single thing. So dashboards just display stuff. They don't do any calculations. Then you have tabs that store data, and that's all they are. They store data. They don't do calculations. And so if I need to do any calculations or aggregate any data, I do that on a calculator sheet. So this would be, and what I want to calculate is essentially, I want to calculate cash balance. So cash balance calculator. And actually, we'll make it even simpler, just cash calc. All right, and so for our cash calculator, what I want it to do is I need to have, because it's not, it'd be nice to know, so that way we can track the amount of money that's coming in and coming out from each broker. That would be handy to have. So let me just add some transfers out. Okay, cash calculator. So here, what I would want is I would want a unique list of brokers. And to get a unique list of brokers that we have from the transfers tab is there is a formula called unique, which gives you the unique rows in the provided source range. And the first argument that unique asks for is the range. The range is the data to filter by unique entries. And what we want to filter is, if we go to the transfers tab, we want to filter the brokers that are available. So we select all of this, and if you are watching, the unique, when you are referencing, so the formula is on the cash calc tab, but when you're referencing data on another tab, you need to name the tab that you are referencing. So in this case, it would be transfers. And the way that the formula knows that that's the name of a tab is you put an exclamation point after it, and then you have your standard A1 notation that comes after it, E2 through E8. But in the future, there are going to be more rows. If we were to leave this formula as it is, transfers A1 through E8, if we were to add new rows, add new transfers, those would not be considered into the calculation. So the way to essentially make the formula future-proof for the range if rows get added is, and actually instead of A1 through E8, I want E1 or E2 through E8. So E8 is what it would be. And to make it future-proof, you just remove the specific row number on the other side of the A1 range. So that way it just says E2 through E. And if it just says E, it'll grab everything to the bottom of that column, whatever row that may be. So that's how you make it future-proof. And let's close this off. Because yeah, the other parameters or arguments we can use are by column and exactly once. By column says whether to filter the data by columns or by rows. By default, this is false because we are filtering by rows. and exactly once whether to return only entries with no duplicates. By default, this is false, which we don't care about. So this is sufficient here. So now we can see we have a unique list of Fidelity, Webull, and now let's change one of the values on here to another broker. Let's say Cash App. If we go back to the cash calc, Cash App is now added to the list. Let's add a new entry to see if our formula really is future-proof. And this is just basic testing we're doing just to make sure it works, because it sucks when you build something and it does not work the way that you expected it to because you didn't account for every situation. So we're adding a new transfer date. Let's make this a transfer in of like $240. The bank, let's do USAA, and let's add a new broker. This broker is let's say TD Ameritrade. Let's enter that. Now, if our unique formula worked, TDA should now appear on the list, even though we added a new row. There it is. So our formula is future-proof into adding transfers. And if, let's say we make a mistake and we need to delete a transfer, let's see what happens there. If we delete a row, there we go. TDA is now gone. So our unique formula does exactly what we expect it to do in every conceivable situation. So we are good to continue. So now that we have our unique list of brokers on the cash calculator, what we want to do is get a sum of all the transfers made in and out of our portfolio that deal with that broker. So let's go back to our cash calculator, and what we would call this is transfer balance. And this is a calculation sheet, so I'm going to use camel case for our column headers. So this is transfer balance, and then broker would be lowercase. Transfer balance. Now, what this formula would be is what we want to do is we want to get a sum if, because we don't want a sum of everything. We want a sum if we only want to sum up certain items if they meet certain criteria for each broker. So we're going to do sum if. A conditional sum across a range is the definition on that formula. Let me do an open parenthesis to open it up. And the range which is tested against the criteria. So we want to check if the amount is matched with the broker. So this range would be the range of brokers. So we go back to transfers, and the range of brokers is transfers E2 through E. Make it future-proof. And then the criteria is the pattern or test to apply to a range. And we want this to equal to, we go back to cash calc. Oh. So we want this to be equal to A2. But we are going to run into a problem if we do just A2. Because if you're trying to reference a specific cell with the sum if formula, putting A2 inside of the quotation marks doesn't work. If you want to reference a cell outside of the quotation marks, you do an ampersand and then the A1 notation. You can see now that the criteria cell is, or the search value is highlighted now. Let's add a comma to get our sum range. Now the sum range is the range that we want to sum if it is different than the range, which in this case it is. because if we just left this as is, it would try to get the sum of fidelity, and fidelity plus fidelity is not a number. So we want to get a range of numbers here. So we head back to the transfers table, and the range of numbers we want to get is the amount, which is column B. But the data starts, so it's B. The column starts with row 2, and then through, we use through by using a colon through B, and we don't put a number after that to make it future proof. But we're going to run into a problem if we just say B2 through B, because if we just say B2 through B, if we go to the cache calc, that's referencing the sheet that it's on. Well, as you can see, it's highlighted here now. What we want to do is we want it to reference the transfers sheet, or the transfers tab. So we would type in transfers and then put an exclamation point to tell the formula that transfers is a tab to look at. Transfers B2 through B. There we go. And then it suggested autofill. I'll show you how to do a manual autofill. So there's 2 ways you can do autofill with formulas. The first way is this blue square in the corner of the selected cell. You can click and hold, and you can drag it down to the last row that you want to apply it to. Or if the column next to the formula is all filled out, you can just double click the blue square to automatically fill it down to the last found value in an adjacent column. So, and this balance is also in dollars, so let's format it there. Okay. All right, and let's see. Transfer balance. So here's a question that I'm going to ask myself now to see if it makes sense. So transfer balance right now, as it stands, they are all positive. So if the transfer balance is all positive, that means that we have transferred that much money into the broker, because positive values mean they're coming into the portfolio and they are being managed, and it's being managed by the broker. But does it make sense to ever possibly have a negative value here? Let's think about that. So with the transfer balance, if it were to be negative, that means more money left the broker than came into it, which is definitely possible and actually good, because if you're transferring more money out of your broker than you've transferred in, that means you've made a profit on the stock market. So, we don't have to worry about checking for negative numbers like this can completely be negative. That's completely fine. Sorry, I'm thinking. Okay, yeah, so I think that handles all of our transfers. Continuing with the cash calculator. So so now it would be more, we can get more detailed now with our buying power and being sure that our buying power is correct by, instead of just summing up all of the amounts here, we could do it that way, but I'd feel much more comfortable getting a sum balance of everything divvied up by broker, so that way if there's anything that's a discrepancy, I can kind of look at the cash calculation sheet and see like where the discrepancy is specifically with which broker, and then you can go fix the data as needed. So instead of sum transfers B2 through B, we want equals sum of cash calc B2 through B, make it future proof. Cool. All right, so that's our buying power. Now, once we have buying power, we can buy stocks. So the first thing is figuring out which stocks to buy and what category they're going to be in. So transfers, and we will call this new sheet trades, and this will be a data table. Let me go back to my cash calculator and remove all the extra columns and remove all the extra rows. Oh, another cool thing to test here is, so now that we've removed all the rows from the bottom of the cash calc that were empty, let's go back to transfers and let's add one row to the bottom here on the transfers tab, and let's add a new broker, TDA. So once we add TDA, that is a new unique broker, it should automatically add a new row on the cash calc. TDA. Check the cash calc. There it is. And it looks like by default, it added 500 rows by default. So we'll just leave it there, since that's what it seems like it wants to do. Broker, transfer balance, let's bold those. Bold, and let's also add alternating colors. Format, alternating colors, and we can use our previous custom style that we defined before. And all we need to do left here is select the headers, change the text color so we can see them, and then under view, we go to freeze up to current row, so that way no matter how far down we scroll, we can always see the column headers. Makes it really user-friendly. All right, so cash calc, and this is a calculator, and I like to differentiate the different tabs, the different types of tabs that I have on my sheets by colors. You can add a color to a tab. You do that by clicking the options arrow next to the tab name on the tab itself. There's an option called change color. And for calculators, I like to make my calculators orange. So let's grab my main orange, come back to this. All right, so cash calc is now orange. Let's get rid of our TDA entry, delete the row, cash calc, AMC making a move. So it looks like, so AMC is currently heading up at, it's 55.30, 55.31, 55.35. We are approaching where we had our high at the end, towards the end of the day, which was at 55.75. So 55.75 will be our next level to beat, which is already marked out at the top here. So we are currently battling it out at a $55.30 range to see if we can stay above that Fibonacci level. That's where we're at right now. Keep a close eye on it. There we go. All right, so cash calculator's done. We'll probably, I'm sure that we'll add more stuff to this later on. But in the meantime, well, I don't like, I was about to hide the tab, but I take it back. I don't like hiding tabs until I know I'm done working with them, and we're still in the very, very early stages of building this sheet out. All right, we've got 3 concurrent viewers now. Hello to the new watchers. Currently, we are building a portfolio manager At least that's what I think I called the product. Portfolio Manager. Yeah, that's what we called it. Okay, Portfolio Manager. And just so you know, feel free to communicate with me through the chat. At the top of the chat, I have our Discord link pinned. So if you want to join our Discord and come join me on the voice channel we have there, I'm much more entertaining when I'm actually like talking with people instead of just me just voicing my thoughts. So feel free to come join us there. All right. Okay, let's continue with the Portfolio Manager. So we got our cash calc, transfers, trades. That's what we were going to work on. Oh, and since we have our transfers table, transfers is a data table, and to signify that it's a data table, I like to make those violet on the color. So let's do that. And actually, to even signify even more that it is a data table, I'm going to change the alternating colors. Instead of the header being black, I'm going to change the header to violet. And then I'm going to make the text black. There we go. So that way we can see just at a glance, like, hey, this is a data table, this is a calculator table. So let's change the alternating colors here to make the header orange and the text black. Oh, come on. Text black. Ah, shoot. Missed my stand point for the 2 o'clock hour. Shucks. All right. Okay, so usually my watch notifies me about stuff like that. Maybe I was just talking so much that didn't even realize it. All right, transfers, trades. So trades, this is going to be a data sheet. So we are going to make this purple right off the bat, and we are going to add alternating colors right away. Data. And headers are bold, and headers are black text. And then we freeze column 1, or row 1, sorry. And for trades, so we would want trade date. Actually, let me come to here. Since this is a data table as well, make these all camel case. Transfer date, amount, settled, or is settled, bank, broker. There we go. This the reason why I'm having the naming convention this way with camel case is it's going to make it super easy to write code that uses this stuff. We don't have to do so many workarounds if we use camel case for it, because eventually we are going to write code that uses this data and automatically populates stuff for you, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool. So for trades, we have the trade date. What other information is important on a trade? It would be the oh boy, let me go to I'm going to look at Fidelity privately to see how they describe it as, because I'm always conflicted between calling it a symbol or a ticker or a stock. I'm honestly not sure what to call it. So let me go to activity and orders, history, account description. I want just the investment account. Cash balance. Oh gosh, they just have description. Yeah, that's too wordy for me. So I'm just going to call it symbol. Yeah, I'm gonna call it symbol. So we have trade date, we have symbol. Let's say trade date would be today, for example, 2021. Symbol AMC, and it would be handy to have an order type. An order type would be buy or sell. Order type would be buy or sell, because that way we don't have to go just based off of positive or negative. We can easily do a filter by order type if we want to. We have the amount, of course. Let's say $1,000. Let's format that right away. Trade date, symbol, order type, amount is settled. Is also an important thing to have, because that way we can keep track of T+2 and whether or not stuff is on margin. Let's format as a checkbox. All right. Let's see, what else? Date. Yeah, we got the trade date, symbol, order type, amount is settled. Trades. I'm thinking about this in code now. I don't think I like the name trade date. I think just date is fine, because if I were to reference this inside of an object, saying trade.trade date is kind of redundant, or I could just say trade.date. That makes sense. And so I'm going to do the same thing on transfers. I'm going to change transfer date to just date. That way I can say transfer.date instead of transfer.transfer date. Too redundant. All right, so let's... Oh, we also would want the broker that this was... that the trade was done on. Okay, and let's see, buy amount is settled, broker. Trade type, and trade.order type doesn't make sense. Buy. Yeah, because we would have, and this would be like market buy or market sell. Limit sell, market sell, stuff like that. Trades. Oh, instead of trades, it would make much more sense to call it orders, because that's what everybody else calls them. Call them orders. Order date, order symbol, order type, order amount. Order is settled. That makes much more sense. Let's see. Guys, I just realized something. We need a totem for good luck with AMC. Yeah, we need a totem. So what I've got for totems right now, let me grab the camera here. All right, so what I got for totems right now is I've got the complete Star Wars Lego helmet collection. So I've got regular Stormtrooper, Darth Vader, Boba Fett, TIE Fighter Pilot, and Scout Trooper. Let me know in the chat what you think we should use as our totem. I'll probably also put that in a tweet for people to answer. And actually, let me do that. Let me do that right now. I'll put up a poll so that way people have time to answer it for tomorrow's stream. And let me actually check to see if I can even do stream tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Just have the 3 o'clock meeting. Yeah, I can do a stream tomorrow, so no problem. Let's put out a tweet. All right. Okay. What should our luck totem be for tomorrow's stream? Let's put out a poll. Let's see, the polls only give me 4 choices. So Boba Fett's the odd one out. So I haven't seen anything in the chat today, so I'm going to choose Boba Fett as our lucky totem. Let me move the Tanty 4 and there's Boba Fett. All right, yeah. I can't see it on my screen. Oh, I guess I can see it on the OBS over here. So, okay. So choice 1, we've got we have a choice of all of the Lego Star Wars helmet collection, or a choice of any. So let's do Stormtrooper, Scout Trooper, add new choice, TIE Fighter Pilot, and then last, Darth Vader. Poll length, let's just make it a day, yeah. And let me tweet that out from my personal. I'm gonna quote the tweet. Okay. Tweet was sent. Pull up the chart again, and back to the portfolio manager. Okay, so let's see, broker. I'm gonna get rid of these extra columns. Get rid of the extra rows. Okay. And actually, let's lower the amount to like $200. Let's do that. So now this is going to affect, category. We want the category that we consider the symbol to be a part of. So category, and I'm going to call this category AMC. AMC, I guess I would consider it, what industry is AMC considered to be a part of? Retail, maybe? Banking services, computer, diversified retail. And these are just heat maps. Let's do a Google search. Pretty sure it'd be considered a part of retail. AMC industry. That doesn't help. Okay, so let's go to Yahoo Finance. And maybe Yahoo will tell us what it considers to be AMC a part of. Earnings, financials, all news, analyst price targets, upgrades, downgrades, company profile, industry, entertainment. Okay, sounds good. So category, entertainment. That's its own industry. Okay. Yeah, let's get a bounce off of 5502. Let's head back up. Oh, I wonder what the RSI looks like on this. Let me add that here. Come on. There we go. Shrink you down a bit. 3578 is what the RSI is at right now. Price is at 5502, which is right where a Fibonacci level is. Let's see if we get a bounce off of it. Okay. So now that we have, buys take out of our cash balance. Hold on, let me think about this. Because I'm just trying to figure, because yeah, if it takes out of our buying power, then we want to subtract that. We want to subtract the amount from the buying power. I'm just trying to figure if we subtract, do we subtract it as part of a formula, or do we make the intrinsic amount negative when we do a buy? How does Fidelity do it? Okay, so it looks like brokers consider buys as intrinsically negative. So that's what we're going to do here too. All right. So now we can come to our dashboard and adjust our buying power to not only include the sum of cash calc B2 through B. We're going to add another value, which is going to be orders. Let me get this out of the way. Amount looks like is column E. So orders E2 through E. It's going to be the sum of all of that. Well, that's our new buying power there. Because yeah, when we sell, it's going to add to our buying power. Okay, yeah, so settled is adding to our buying power, or amount, yeah, cells are adding to the buying power, so those would be positive towards the account. Now, is settled, where does this come into play? So this would come to play with margin. So okay. So what we would want to do here is, let me move this formula over to here. And something that determines what our buying power is if our accounts are on margin, but that can be different per broker. So what we need what we need is a broker manager. So that way we can keep track of our settings through all of our brokers, like if they allow options or not. What's this doing? Oh, Yahoo's trying to do stuff. Let me close that out. Because we can't just say, do I have a margin account? Because you could have, some could be margin accounts, some could not be margin accounts. So what we essentially need is a buying power calculator, not just a cash calculator. Transfer balance. Yeah, we need like a buying power calculator. So we'll expand the cash calculator to do this. We do need a place though where we can determine broker settings, and let's make that as part of the dashboard, since the dashboard is an area where we want really quick toggles available. So let's get rid of buying power here, and let's make a small table here for broker settings. And since this is on the dashboard, we will use proper naming conventions. So this will be the broker, just brokers. And the brokers that we have, we can easily get a list of brokers, because brokers don't matter unless, like, brokers won't matter unless we have some transfers either in or out of them. Wait, no, that's not true. Because you can have a position inside of a broker without having a transfer in or out. I have that myself inside of Webull, where I got Webull and they gave me a free stock. I do have access to that. I won't be able to do anything with it until I transfer some money in to Webull, but I still own that. I still own that position. So with brokers, yeah, we'll just start with this. So brokers, let's say we have Webull, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Cash App, and I don't like Robinhood, so I'm going to, well, that doesn't mean other people will, so we'll actually add Robinhood on here. What the heck? All right. Okay. Right align, left align those. So brokers, Webull. Broker themselves, and then margin. So if they allow margin, it's either true or false. True, 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 true. I know Robinhood is true by default and Fidelity is false by default. Know that. Let's turn those into checkboxes. We do that by going up to Insert, Checkbox. All right. Okay, so now we can really get cooking with figuring out where buying power comes from, because depending on whether or not trades are settled, it determines how much buying power you actually have. And let's see. So with the cash calculator now, instead of transfer balance, we just want this to be cash balance and margin balance. Cash balance, margin balance, and the cash balance. So we need to add a new, or not a new, we need to add another condition to this sum if. And sum if only takes in one consideration. I think there is a formula for sum ifs though. I think. Let's check. Sum ifs. Sum ifs, there it is. Sums arranged depending on multiple criteria. So let's take a look at that. So as the sum range, yeah, I think we'll need to build this from scratch. So let's go exit out, replace sum if with sum ifs, plural. So the range that we want to sum is transfers B2 through B. That's our transfer amount. And the criteria range 1, the criteria range we want to check is the broker itself. And the broker itself is A, B, C, D. So transfers, exclamation point, D2 through D. And the criterion 1, because we have the range and now we need to actually make the criteria. So that would be if anything in this range is equal to whatever the value is inside of A2. And then we have criteria range 2, which we go back to transfers, would be is settled is what we want to check. So that would be transfers, exclamation point, C2 through C. And the criterion for that one, let's come back here. The criterion for that is if it is equal to true. Or wait, if it is settled, that's our cash balance, yes. So yeah, if it's settled, that means it's can be considered as part of the cash balance. So if it is equal to true, close that off. We ran into an error. Formula parse error. Oh, it's because I think the true needs to be a part of the quotation marks. There. Let's drag this down. So all the cash balance says 0. That should not be the case because we do have one where it is marked as settled, and that would be with fidelity. So fidelity, sum ifs. Did we do this right? The range to sum, that's correct. The range to check against criterion 1. Range 2, additional, and then additional ranges to track. Why does it not like it? Transfer C2 through C is equal to true. Because yeah, we should see 300 right here next to fidelity. What if we change this to equals to false? What happens then? Nothing? Maybe we need an equal to ampersand true? That didn't work. Well, let's take out the second statement for now. So even with our original statement, it doesn't work. Why would that be? Range to sum, B2 through B, which is the amount. Transfers, D2 through D. where it's equal to A2. Very curious as to why this isn't working. Because if we change this to, hold on, range to sum, the range to check against criterion 1, pattern or test to apply to criterion 1. Let's hit learn more to see where we might be messing up. The sum ifs function. Depending on multiple criteria. Instead of and A2, let's just do a straight up fidelity. If it's just equal to fidelity, we're gonna hard code that into the formula. And that still doesn't work. Hold on. I'm gonna try building this from scratch. Sum ifs, the range that we want to sum. It's transfers. Okay, so yeah, it wants to stay there. Sum ifs, transfers. B2 through B8. Let's make it not future proof. Criteria range 1. Where it is equal to fidelity. And make sure that's spelled that right. Okay, that's weird. Now it works. So let's take this out. Let's do and A2 now. Still works. I think the one difference is that it's not future proof anymore. So we'll see if this works or if we need to do a different solution. Because now if I take out the 8 on each of those, it still works. Did I spell something wrong before? The only thing I can think of why it's working now and it wasn't before is, oh, I had D2 through D before, not E2 through E. That's where I was getting, that's where my mistake was. Okay, so now we should be able to do transfers C2 through C, where it is equal to true. 300, perfect. That's working now. Okay, and now with the margin balance, it's the same thing. Except, I want to lock those. So if you want to lock, when working with ranges inside of formulas, if you drag the formula over, if you don't lock the columns or the rows, it will change the columns that it's referencing. So if you want to lock those, you do that by putting $signs before the column indicators. So $B2 through $B through E, that's locked. A2 is not, we do want to lock the column. Yeah, we do want to lock the column. We don't want to lock the row. And then C2 through C. But when we drag down, we also want to make sure that that we always start looking at E2, C2, and B2 instead of, if we were to drag it down, then the 2 would turn into a 3 unless we lock the 2. So this should work now. So now we can drag this down and we can drag it over. But now we just need to change this for margin balance. For margin balance, it's not just if it's settled, it could be just anything there. Matthias Crow, just saw your chat. So with 002 and 005, will margin calls come on Monday the 21st? and why they're still able to short 4.5 million shares a day. We know that 80% of the flow of the, I'm assuming you mean the free float, is in the diamond hands of apes. Can you explain for ape brains? Yeah, so with 005 and 002, so 002 is expected to go into effect on Monday. With the rules, though, you need to take into consideration that that they're just putting new rules on the books, but rules don't mean anything unless they're enforced. And FINRA has does not have a good track record of good enforcement, especially for rules that are immediately implemented. They just don't have the staff they don't have the staff to enforce as much. So I would not get your hopes up for Monday. Or let me rephrase that differently. So look forward to Monday. I definitely am. I am hopeful that margin calls are going to come on Monday. Because with 002, if margin calls come, a margin call could be like, hey, you need to put up money within an hour. Like, I'm hopeful that that FINRA will be able to that FINRA will enforce those new rules. I'm hopeful, but if it doesn't happen, I am not going to set myself up for disappointment. We have learned time and time again that we can't count on dates. The only thing that we can count on and we can control is what we can do, and what apes can do is they can buy and hold, not financial advice. But in the end, that's what's going to that's what's going to trigger the margin calls, is if we just don't sell our shares. That's what's going to happen. I'm hoping that these new regulations and rules will help speed up that process, and it looks like they will. So I'm hopeful, but we've had new rules implemented the past few months that were supposed to be the catalyst, but didn't end up being that way. So yeah, don't put your hopes in don't put your trust in the government that they're gonna actually do their job. I wouldn't, because they haven't, not up to this point. Especially with the reason why DTCC rule 5 was originally on the table like weeks ago, but then they took it off. When they put it back on yesterday, when they refiled it, the biggest changes that were made to it in the interim were with language. And the language that was changed was they changed the language to say like, oh yeah, like we are continuing to make sure that we have a free and fair market for everyone, and like, oh yeah, this rule has always been in place, we're just now really committing to enforcing it. And we know that's a lie. And so I personally, I look at rule 5 as the DTCC just covering their ass for when eventually there's going to be lawsuits and hearings about all this. So that way they'll be able to say like, oh, well, we put out an official document stating that we've been doing this and we've been doing our job, and so you can't blame us for this happening. Yeah, be hopeful for Monday, but don't be disappointed if nothing comes of it. So, next question: why are they still able to short 4.5 million shares per day? Let's think about that. So, the reason why they would be able to short 4.5 million shares per day, and that's just what would be reported, because who knows what they're doing with what's not being reported. But the simplest explanation is the most likely one to be true, and that's that over time they have returned shares that they have borrowed, and then those shares, once they're returned to borrow, they can be borrowed again for new shorts. Just because if a short seller buys back into the market to close their short position, they don't have to return the borrowed share. They can just close their previous short position and open a brand new one without ever returning the share. And so with borrowed shares, the pool of borrowed shares is always expanding and retracting, because you can have brokers that say like, oh hey, like these new people have margin accounts, or they're we have new apes that are buying into AMC, and the shares that apes buy are now controlled by the brokers, and the brokers will say like, hey, now we have new shares of AMC that can be borrowed out. So these are for apes that specifically have their accounts on with margin enabled. If you have margin enabled, your shares can be loaned out. If you don't have a cash only account, whatever you buy can be borrowed to use against you. So that's how there's so many shares being able to borrow, because apes own 80% of the float and we're not selling, but that doesn't mean those 80%, it doesn't mean they can't be borrowed. It just means we're not selling, but the broker can still take the shares you own and lend them out to hedge funds to short sell. So that's why it's important to make sure that your account is a cash only account and it's not a margin account. So yeah, I hope that answers all your questions there. If you have any other questions about stock plumbing, about what we're seeing on the chart, spreadsheets or code, I can answer any of those questions. That's what we do here. We do stock, spreadsheets, and code. So thanks, Brett. You are welcome, Matthias. Okay. Oh, where was I? Some ifs here. Okay, so with margin balance, to determine margin balance from our transfers, whatever our margin balance is, if margin is enabled for the broker, then it would just be all of this. We wouldn't care if a transfer has been settled or not, if margin is enabled on the account. So that would be something to put into here, is margin enabled. And this would be true or false. Do I still have? Oh, yeah, so we can just pull it from there. And instead of pulling this unique list of brokers from the transfers, what we can do now is we can just do a mirror of whatever's on the dashboard. So we can go to dashboard, and this would be A2 through A. It didn't like that. Circular dependency detected. To resolve with iterative calculation, see file spreadsheet settings. Why didn't it like that? Let's go to the dashboard. A2 through A. Still doesn't like that. Circular dependency detected. Oh. I think it's because of that. Well, if I were to get rid of this formula, and that one, and that one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Oh, I know the problem. It's not A2 through A6. It needs to be dashboard A2 through A6. There we go. A2 through A. Let's turn it into that. Oh, and we can't. Can we spread a range? I think you can spread a range by putting brackets around it. Yes. There we go. I'm a spreadsheet wizard. All right. Okay. Looks like we are respecting 5502 as a level of support right now. Hopefully we can get a bounce above it, but it looks like we've been barcoding for probably the past like 10 minutes or so. Yeah, let's hope to get a bounce above it and get a retest of 5530. All right, so now this is margin enabled. We can actually expand this to A2 through B6, and then it just mirrors literally whatever we have here. We just need to format the true falses into checkboxes. The way we do that is we select the range of true false values, click insert, checkbox. There you go. Looks pretty and super easy to toggle. And since this is a mirror, you can't toggle on and off from here. The only place that can be controlled is right here. So now Weeble's off, turn Weeble back on here, Weeble's back on here. Really cool. All right, so let's see. Cash balance, margin balance. And actually, now that we have the is margin enabled there, we can combine the cash and margin balance to just a single balance. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna get rid of this column. I'm gonna rename this to balance. And we have the sum ifs, and then we only want to, we only care about this second condition inside of the sum if margin is not enabled. So I wonder if, can I nest an if statement inside of a sum ifs? Let's try it. So wrap that entire statement inside of an if, and then what, after position 3 to be in pairs. Gross. Okay, I don't think it'll allow us to do that. So let's think of something creative. Oh, we just put the sum ifs inside of an if itself. So what we do here is we have an if. Let's drag this down, and you can actually expand the formula of whatever you're working with here, and to move this down to the next line to make it more readable. On a Mac, you hit Command Return, and if you are on a PC, I think you would hit Control Return to do that. And then to make indentations, you can just do spaces. So we have an if statement here, but the if statement we are looking for, the initial condition is if margin is enabled. So if B2 is equal to true. So if margin is enabled, then what, oh, I should hit shift. And I missed my standpoint for the 3 o'clock hour too. Shoot. All right. Not to worry. So if B2 is, so if the margin is enabled, then we just want to grab then the only condition we care about is if the transfer matches the broker and nothing else. So we want to sum if transfers B2 through, and lock that all, B2 through locked B, and transfers lock E, lock 2, lock E, and that is equal to A2, locked A2. Otherwise, we do the same thing, but we only want to grab transfers if the transfers have been settled, if margin is not enabled. That gives us our balance. And I need to put a comma here. All right, what doesn't it like? Argument must be a range. Argument must be a range. Value if false. Value if true. Value if false. What doesn't it like? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's right. Some if and some ifs are structured differently. So the range that we need to check first, the range itself is transfers E2 through E. So it's the same thing, we just need to switch them around. So E2 through E. The criteria is if it is equal to A2. And then the range we're summing is transfers B2 through B. Lock. Okay, now it's not angry at us anymore. Okay. And now we can just drag this down and we can get rid of these extra rows. All right. And then, yeah, that keeps it readable enough. So that way, can come back to transfers. And so with Weeble, so fidelity does not allow margin in this example. So if we go to all of our fidelity transfers, it should only count the fidelity transfers where the trades have been settled. So the only one is 300. So we have a 400 transfer into fidelity that has not been settled. But if we check this and we go back to the cash calculator, then the fidelity total balance should come to 700, 400 plus 300. And there it is. Beautiful. All right, so now that we have an accurate balance being calculated, and just to make it readable in one line, separating the formula out like that is really, really useful when you are initially building it out. But once you're done building the formula, you might as well just put it all in one line since you're probably never going to look at it again. All right. Okay, so now that we have our balance, the sum of all of this is our buying power, or our initial buying power. So hold on, I'm thinking. Because if it transfers out, does it take out of the buying power? No. What takes out of the buying power is sell orders. What puts into the buying power, or sorry, no. So let's think in let's think inside the spreadsheet here. So the things that contribute to buying power. So things that contribute to buying power that add into it would be transfers in, Other things that add to buying power would be sell orders, because you can get more money added to your buying power when you sell, because you can get new money from the market, you can get new money from your bank account. So this is new money from your bank account, this is new money from the market. Those are the things that go into your buying power, and those are the only things that can go into the buying power. What comes out of the buying power is do transfers to the bank out of the broker affect buying power? Yes, they do. So transfers out and then buy orders. Okay, so yeah, it's just the formula for buying power would be equal to all the transfers in and the transfers out. So we can just come to which is the same thing as the balance here. So we can make this make it a sum of cash calc and make that future proof by having it end with C. And it is also a function of the amount, orders E2 through E. That's what buying power is. Let me move that right there. Okay. So yeah, that's what determines our buying power, at least at this level, because eventually the buying power will. That's our raw buying power. That's our gross buying power, because when we build this out further, we're also going to have to take into account money that we've set aside. So for orders in the future. So that way, yeah, you'll see what I mean when we build this out. It's going to take us building out this sheet. When I originally did it, the really crude version that I have for myself, I think it took me a good week to really get it to a point where I wanted it. So we're not going to get this done in a single day, but that's okay. Good things take time to build. So, all right. Oh, I haven't stood up for a while. That's actually, I would say that's a really good segue into, I need to take a 1 minute break, stand up, walk around, stretch out. So don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And we're back. Take us for the water. Okay, next. So we have orders, which is category. So those are actual orders. So now let's build out our plan. What I'm gonna do is on a separate screen, I'm actually going to have my personal one pulled up. I just don't know where to put it. I've got so many things that I'm running. Nah. It's better to think through if we build it from scratch. So, let's see. So let me build a new sheet here. I rename it to just planning for now. So planning is, let's say, actually, no, I think this would actually be good to have it on the dashboard itself, because this is something that users are going to be modifying directly. So let's have a symbol, AMC, and I'm gonna get away from the, because this is gonna be for like long-term stuff, so I'm just thinking about like my top 10, like I'll just start with like the biggest stocks in the market by market cap, and really good place to find it is actually Robinhood. I just needed to do two-factor authentication to get into Robinhood. Okay. All right, and we are back. Okay. So I don't have anything in my Robinhood account, as you can see right here. It's been that way for a while. But I like the way that they have things organized into lists. So let's start with like the 100 most popular. All right. And just to make it easy, I'm going to move this onto a different screen. And that way I can just start typing things in. So we got Tesla, Apple, AMC's on the 100 most popular. What do you know? SNDL, FGE, NIO, Disney, Amazon, Microsoft, American Airlines. No, I want to be able to put these into categories really easy, because that's the point. That's where we're going towards right now, is being able to build out different categories for stuff and being able to weight and to be able to do weighted distribution with those. So instead of 100 most popular, I want to go by like industry. So let's go with technology. So technology, we have Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and let's call that good for technology. Let's go to retail now, or pharma. Yeah, pharma is next on the list. So we have Johnson & Johnson, we have Novartis, Pfizer. Would be good for pharma. Energy, we have ExxonMobil, Chevron, We have, ooh, this will actually be a good test. This is shell, it's RDSB. I don't recognize like any of these. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Okay. And let's show more lists. Energy, ETFs. Let's do consumer services and retail. Find some familiar ones here. Walmart, Disney, McDonald's, Costco, it's a good one. Starbucks, one of my personal favorites. Sony. I'd say that's a good list that we can start with. All right, so now let's sort these into self-declared categories. So let's call this tech. And tech is all the way down to here. Then we have pharma. And pharma goes down to there. Then we have energy. Just got 3 in energy. And the rest is consumer services and retail. And let's drag that down. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got our categories. Now, what we want to have here is we want to get a list of categories and have like we want to get a unique list of categories. So let's do that right here. So with categories, we have unique, and the unique range we're looking at is right here. Okay. And now, let's add an other at the bottom. Always like to have other. Or actually, because categories is unique, let's have other at the top. Because that way, as we add more categories, then we don't need to worry about having to keep shifting other towards the bottom. You want to keep static values at the top and dynamic values, ones that are populated by formulas. You want to keep those below your static values when you have a list of items. So for categories, then we have distribution. Okay, so for distribution, let's say that I want I want to save, or actually even better. So let's say I want to put away like anytime I get new money, I want to put away I'm really aggressive. I really like the tech sector. So let's say I want to put away 30% of all my new money into tech when I get it. Let me put another 10% into pharma, energy, 5%, and then consumer services and retail. I like that, so let me do 15% there. So let me check to make sure those are percentages. You do that by clicking and dragging, or by selecting all the values you want to format as a percentage, and then you can come up to here and format as %. There we go. So, and then I want to decrease the decimal points. And there's also a button for that. You can decrease the decimal points there, or you can increase them there to format it however you want. So now let's add this up. So 30 plus 10 is 40, 45, and then we have 50, 60. So all this combined is only 60%. And we can see that by selecting all the values and seeing this down here. That leaves 40% for other categories. But for other, what we want to do is we want to calculate other by being like, hey, if it's not if it hasn't been defined in one of these, whatever is the rest, whatever percentage that ends up being, we want that to go into other. And that is best done with another formula. So for this, percentages are always between a value between 0 and 1. So for other, what we would do is we'd have a formula that would take 1 minus the sum of the rest of the table, which is E3 through E6 at this point. 40. So now we have 40% in other. So let's add 10% more to pharma, and that should decrease other by 10% when we add 10%. So this becomes 20. Other should become 30. Boom. There you go. That's what we want. All right. Woo. Throat's hurting. I honestly have no clue how Matt Kors does this all day. It's probably because he doesn't talk as loud as I do. He has a nice mic. Okay. So now that we have our weighted distribution there, now we can do weighted. So this is our product roadmap here. Let me add some check boxes into here. So inter-category weighted distribution is done. We've added that. Now we want to do intra-category distribution. So we do that. I found the best way to do that is just by doing weighted distribution by number. That's instead of percentages. That's the best way I found. I found that's easiest to do it. So I will have a new column called weight here, and let's filter this. So I select everything I want to filter. There's a button up here. I heard a funny noise coming from my computer. 213. I'm not sure if it was Discord or the chat. I don't see anything new. Oh, I'm seeing top chat. Let me go to live chat. Oh, so let's see. Gotcha. Matthias, I missed one of your messages because I was looking at top chat instead of live chat. So yeah, I'm holding 4 figures of shares too. I've only been holding since late May though, or no, since early May. I've been very fortunate to only see green in my portfolio. Been very, very fortunate. I'm a summer child because of that. So, but I'm now on the live chat, so I should be seeing every message that comes through now. But what the heck? I heard a noise. I heard it. Was it Twitter? Maybe? Does Twitter even make noises anymore? All right. Yeah, let's check. Okay, that really just threw me off. Like, LinkedIn? I think it was a new LinkedIn message I got. I'm looking for a job right now. So, right. So back to weight. So if I want to put a filter on something, I just grab everything I want to filter, and there is a button here called Create a Filter. And now I can filter by category here. Clear. I want to filter everything by tech. So within the tech category, so tech gets 30% of any new buying power that comes in. But within tech, I want to distribute this. So I could do it by percentage. So there's a couple ways that you can do this that works with the formula that we're going to use for it. So you could do easy percentages. So you can say like, I want to put 50% of the money that tech gets towards Apple, 30% towards Microsoft. That leaves us with 50, 30, 80, that leaves us with 20 more percent. So let me do 10% Amazon, and then 5 and 5 for Google and Facebook. So so if we select all those, our sum is 100, but it doesn't have to be 100. It only needs to be 100 if it's like, because another way that you can do this is, let's say I want, like, Google and Facebook, I want them to get the least of whatever's in this group. But whatever I put towards Google and Facebook, I want Amazon, and I just realized I had the ticker spelled wrong for that. I want Amazon to have twice as much as what one of these guys gets. Or essentially, whatever I give to Google and Facebook combined, I want to give the same amount to Amazon. And then whatever Amazon gets, I want to give twice as much of that to Microsoft, and then twice as much as what Microsoft gets to Apple. So that way you have an exponential distribution there. That's another way. That's another way that it can be done. So. Yeah, so I'll show you what I mean here now. So I have a symbol, category, and weight. I've got my weights defined, and let's say if I were to divide up the buying power specific, or that I have reserved to go into those stocks. So let me call that. Should I call it buying power for the specific stock? Buying power. Yeah, I'll call it buying power for now. If I find a better word or phrase for it later, I'll just change it. So so for the buying power there, well, actually, let's come back up to this table first with the categories table. So the category also has buying power. And so how to calculate this is you would take the the total buying power, what we have here. So we would take this, you can just select the cell, and then you would, give me 1 second, my wife is giving me a call. All right, okay, back. All right, so you take this, and then if something's already a percentage, then you can multiply it just by the percentage there. And why do we have, oh, it's because we didn't lock it. So we need to lock this cell to be 8, and you lock it by putting $signs in front of both the column and the row. And now if we drag this down, so this buying power is now evenly distributed. This buying power is evenly distributed according to this into here. So if we select all of this, the sum should equal the buying power, which it does. Cool. So now we know that tech has $465.30 that we can put to it. So with the buying power now, to figure out the buying power, we would take the buying power reserved for tech So the way we do that is with, I think we can do it with a simple lookup function. Look up a value. The search key is tech. And the search range that we're looking for tech for is in here. And then the result range that we want would be the buying power. And then we just need to make sure that that the D and the F range is locked. D2 through D6 and then F2 through F6. So that's locked, and so now if we drag this down, 232.65, which is not what is for tech, so what's going on with that? Where's 232.65? That's coming from consumer services and retail. Did we do it wrong? Result range, search range. All right, so instead of a lookup, we're going to do a match. Let's do a match formula. So a match actually takes in a search key, which is tech, the range, the one-dimensional array to be searched would be this, and then the search type. Oh, we want to do an index match. Index matches I've found to be extremely reliable and they're extremely powerful. So when we do an index, the first thing that goes in the index is what we want to actually return here. So the index is the buying power. And then for the row, this is when we do the match. The search key is tech. The search range, where we're trying to find tech, is inside of here. And then we want an exact match, which is 0. Enter. There we go. 465.30 matches with tech there. And we just need to make sure that F2 through F6 is locked. B11 is fine. We can lock the column though. D2 through D6, all of that needs to be locked, bounded essentially. And drag it down. There we go. So now we have our buying power for all of tech, but now we want to take this and we want to divide it by how much weight it has in the total of this. So we're going to combine. We're eventually going to combine all these formulas into one, but I'm going to build it out this way so you can see what the thought process you need to take is when you build this out for yourself. Let's see. Looks like Tara's having a rough day, I guess. Buying power, and so now what we need to do is calculate the percentage, or yeah, we need to calculate the weight percentage. So the weight percentage we get, and to get a percentage, it's just you take whatever you want divided by the total. That is how you get it. So what we want is this, and we divide it by the total of all the weights, including, oh, come on. Take the weight divided by the sum of all the weights, including itself. And we need to lock some things. So what we need to lock is this range right here, C11 through C15. And now if we drag it down, we'll get this, and if we select all of this, it should say 1. There we go. Because all your percentages should add up to 1. There we are. So now we have our weight percentage, and then we say, and then we actually have our actual buying power for the specific symbol. Actual buying power is now just a very simple function of we take the buying power and multiply it by the weighted percentage. Because let's check to see if 8 is actually, in fact, 50% of all of this. So 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 plus 1 is 8, and 8 is, and so if this is all 8 and this is all 8, then this is equal to half of that. So yeah, that math checks out. So the actual buying power that's reserved for each of these stocks now. Now the tricky thing is we're going to turn the filter off on this, and we need to make sure that this works for every category, for every symbol that we have. So as you can see, these say 0% because there is no weight. So if I were to put a 1, just a 1, literally the smallest number, the smallest whole number that you can do, and because it's the only thing that even has a number inside of its entire category, its weight percentage is going to say 100% once I hit enter. Oh, it doesn't because of our matching. So pharma, like that's correct. So, but the actual weight percentage, this is not correct. We want to have it bound by the entire weight of the category. So that's actually another column we should add, is weight of the category. So category total weight. So the category total weight is we would do a sum if. And the range that we want to check against the criteria yes, the range we want to check against a criteria is the tech itself. B11 through B27. Oh, come on. B11 through B27. And the criterion is we want to see if it is equal to, put an ampersand to make it so we can grab a specific line, because we want that to match whatever the same row that this is on. And then the sum range is the weight. And now we want to go in and lock everything except for B11. We do want to lock B, but we don't want to lock 11 because we want 11 to change to 12 as we drag it down and so on and so forth. But C11 and C20 through C27, that does need to be bound, so we hit enter, suggested autofill. So the category total weight, because this category is tech, it will add up. It will add up all the weight, but only if it is tech. But now, once we get down to pharma, pharma category total weight is 1 because it finds everything in pharma and adds up everything for just that category. So if I were to add a 2 here, then this would become 3 for everything inside the pharma category. There we are. Let's do a 5, and that should turn it up to 8. There we go. And so on and so forth. Let's, with energy, let's just divide this evenly by thirds, 33%, essentially. And ignore these right now. We need to readjust these formulas. Let's see, consumer services and retail. Let's say I want to divide this evenly between all of them. the easiest way to divide it evenly is just give them all the same number. That way they all get an even distribution. That way you don't have to figure out exactly what percentage. You can, if they all have the same number, they're all given the same weight. So, let's give one of these a 34. So we have 100 there. Category total weight, nice and even. Except we don't have to. Actually, let's not. Yeah. So, let's see. Now we need to figure out the weight, recalculate the weight percentage. So, instead of getting the weight percentage, which the denominator directly from here, we can just get the denominator directly from the row itself because we calculated it as part of its own column. So this would be C11 divided by E11. That simple. So now if we drag this down, there we go. So all your percentages are the same because they're all weighted the same. All percentages are the same here because they're also weighted the same. Let's see, and then we have our actual buying power. So this does everything we want it to do. Now we can simplify, and what you can do is doing this on your own. If this was its own table, like its own tab, and actually, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this its own tab. I'm going to cut all of that, make its own tab, and this would be this would essentially be our portfolio. So I'm going to call it that. So we're going to cut that out, and the only things we manually define in here, everything over here is calculated. So let me make that gray or orange. That's my calculator color. So we know that everything in these columns is calculated, but everything here is defined manually. And good user experience is everything that's defined manually. You want to put it in one place as much as possible. So let's go to our dashboard and let's take just this and put it here. So now we can make the portfolio mirror this. Just the data. Let's get rid of all of this. And now we can do a spread index, and the way you do that is by putting curly braces. Come back to here, and this would be what, A11 through C, essentially. So if we do A11 through C, oh, it needs to be dashboard A11 through C. Dashboard. There we go. So now I can't edit this. Or I guess I can. Oh, it was only with like checkboxes. So this is a mirror of whatever's on the dashboard. So this is the master. So if I change it here, it's going to automatically change it inside the portfolio, because that way we can save our, so this way we can take up as much room as we want, and we can make our dashboard look really clean. Let me make this look a bit prettier. So the portfolio, this is a calculator of some sort, so I'm going to call this port calc. Change the color to our orange to signify it's a calculator. and actual buying power. This would be the category buying power. And since now this is a calculator, we can use code to plug this in. So I'm going to make these all camel case. Weight, category, buying power, category, total weight. And this is weight percentage. And this is just the buying power. Okay. Yeah, like look at this. It's been AMC has been respecting these this Fibonacci retracement like perfectly. Like we had our run up, it came down into this channel, came up here, and then once things started to cool off and establish a trend, like we came down to this, jumped all the way up to this, had a false breakout, came down here, touched here, down all the way to this, bounced perfectly off of that, bounced in this channel, came up through here, and yeah, it's just been following this really beautifully, which is good. It means that it's less good for being able to predict where it's going to go next, because it's just less volatile in general if it is following these Fibonacci retracement levels. So with almost an hour left, considering that we've stayed mostly inside of this channel, it looks like we're trying to make a push. Yeah, it looks like we're trying to make a push above into this channel. So I think we can expect at the end of after hours, we're either going to end here or here. I don't think we're going to see any crazy movements that would push us above here or down here. So I think we can expect to just stay between 55.02 and 56.75, which is a bit of a wide range, but that's what we're looking at right now. I think we're actually looking to make our breakout right at this moment. Zoom in. Kind of been barcoding. Let me look at the volume. 320 shares. Okay, so yeah, we're in crazy low volume right now. Okay, what's next with this? So another thing to think about, and what we want to keep on this portfolio is everything, or in the dashboard, is everything that can be manually defined, and then we want the end result of these calculations. So what we will do is buying power. And the end result of these calculations would be equal to port calc, exclamation point, G2 through G. And we want everything in that range, so we wrap it inside of curly braces. And there we go. All right, yeah, it looks like we got a breakout above. Let's see if we can keep it. Check. Okay, says I've got an excellent connection, so we should be good. All right, so now buying power. Buying power. Well, I'm thinking about something real well. Okay, so next what we want to do is we want to be able to take what we currently have in the buying power and essentially earmark, and at specific points we want to be able to earmark certain amounts of funds to purchase specific securities. So that way we can essentially just set and forget about that money until we find a good buying opportunity for those stocks. And we want to count that, and we want to subtract what we've taken out. That we want to take out what we've earmarked for future purchase. We want to take that out of our gross buying power. That's what I'm going to rename this to. Gross buying power. And so we'll have net buying power. And that way we'll be able to know, so that way if we want to use any frivolous funds, or we want to use any funds for for ad hoc trading, then we know how much net buying power we have. So that way we don't take out of funds that have been set aside for future purchases on securities that you want a long-term investment on. So so we have buying power, and then let's call it earmarked funds for now. So for earmarked funds is not a formula, because that's something that you want to be able to manually update yourself. Let's see. Matthias, very interesting stuff. Unfortunately, I got to go to bed now. We'll watch it later. Thanks, Care Bud. Much love from Germany. Oh, from Germany. Thank you for watching. All right. Well, you have a good night. Okay. Let's see. Earmarked funds. Because what I want to do... Because gross buying power will always be the same. Net buying power, once things have been set aside for stuff. My wife just got home, so I will need to terminate the stream. I'm really glad that you were able to hang in there with me. We will continue this at another time. So wish you the best of luck with everything that you're looking to get out of the market, and yeah, have a nice evening.